Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, and it's Monday, which means it is time once again for one of our viewer specials. If you're new to the channel or the series, welcome, and here's a little bit of a breakdown. Every week on Mondays, we showcase games from you all, the viewers, which is a great opportunity to not only take a look at some decks, builds, or strategies I haven't explored yet, but it also lets us kind of come together as a community and cheer each other on as we show off our cool games. So if you're interested in submitting for the viewer special, all you need to do is check out the description below. One of the links down there is going to be an invite link to our Discord server, the Hexlexplex. Once you're in there, just head down to the Master Duel section. There is a channel called Viewer Special Submissions. There you can leave your 9-digit player ID, and then I can see your publicly saved replays. If there's one in particular you would like me to watch, make sure to leave either your opponent's name, the date and time, or a screenshot, something where I know that's the duel you want me to watch. But yeah, it's one of my favorite series, and I want to thank everybody who submits. Even if you don't get featured, we could not do this series if we didn't get submissions. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate all of you. But let's not waste any more time, and let's go ahead and get into some of your duels. Okay, our first duel comes to us from Fuan, who has quite a few replays here playing Onamont Ryzeal. Outside of trying Mitsurugi with a small Ryzeal package, I actually have not really played Ryzeal since the ban of Cross, so I'm very eager to see how a more dedicated Ryzeal deck plays in the current meta. This deck does look very consistent, which Fuan goes into great detail on. I always kind of recommend checking out the channel, even if you're not submitting, the viewer special submissions channel on the Discord, that is, because a lot of folks like Fuan here will give some pretty good breakdowns as far as like what their climb to master or their experience with the deck was like. All right, here we have a going second game up against Draco Tail. Pretty standard looking Draco Tail build, so very eager to see how Onamont Ryzeal is going to perform in a matchup like this. Yeah, it is definitely true that the deck is still very, very consistent, with a lot of one-card starters and just any way to make a rank for being pretty much full combo. Yeah, we get the Fualos, that's pretty good, as well as a bunch of starters here. Our opponent's going to lead with Rahu. We're going to chain the Fua, which does end up resolving. Now, because it's Draco Tail, we're probably only going to get 1 or 2 draws. I can't imagine it'd be much more than that. Okay, so they fused away, let's see, it was Fualos, Phimena, and then Malulu, it looks like. Interesting. Okay, so we drew into the old Unbreakable Xyz barrier. They're going to set the Draco Tail Flame, and then Malulu is going to set the Horn. And then Arthelion's going to add back the Malulu and the Phimena, I imagine here, right? Yes, okay. They're going to normal summon Malulu, set another card, and pass. That's a pretty solid end board into the Fualos, only giving us 1 draw and setting up pretty much all the interactions besides Golemel. We're going to lead with the Onomano pickup here, and then, ooh, we're going to get hit with the Droll and Lockbird. That's really rough. That's definitely the last hand trap we wanted to see, but we still have quite a few plays here. We're going to summon the Goblinberg, summon out the Onomato Kage from deck, and now we're going into the Traptrix Rafflesia, which is a great way to put negates on your board now that Cross is banned. We also have the Dododo Warrior, so we can summon that out, as well as the Star Ryzeal, letting us set a Ryzeal Plasma Hole from deck. Onomato Kage gets to revive here, and now we can overlay using 3 level 4s, and that'll let us make the Prime Mathmech Laplation, which is going to let us send the card from the field, hand, and, well, the Monster Zone back row in hand, I should say. So trying to get that Phimena out of there, but they're going to chain Malulu in order to go into the Golemel here. Now Laplation will resolve, getting rid of Golemel in the middle back row, which was the Flame. So they can still set a couple of cards with the Malulu and the Phimena here. But we're going to chain the Gravedigger's Trap Hole with the Rafflesia, and that's going to negate the Phimena, as well as dealing 2k damage. Malulu's going to set a Ketu from deck. And now we're going to overlay our 2 Xyz monsters, which I imagine is going to be the... oh, it's Eclipse Twins. Okay. Yeah, we're not on the heroic... Or not heroic, what is it called? Oh, we are on it. Okay, the Utopic Future Zexal. The Rafflesia gets to revive thanks to the Eclipse Twins here. We're going to set the Unbreakable Xyz Barrier. And that'll give us a negate. Even if we don't have the 2 materials, we can still negate, it just doesn't destroy. Which against a normal spell like Ketu is totally fine. So they have Arthelion and Unknown Back Row, I was going to say, which ends up being the Sting here. They've got an unknown card in hand, and then Foreign is the other face down. 2 unknown cards in hand, but it doesn't look like they found a starter here. Ooh, they do have a fine meta, though. They're going to fuse the Arthelion on board with a Nibiru in hand, I imagine to make another Arthelion. But Arthelion can only add 1 card here, and I was going to say, even if they get 5 mana, oh, but they can revive Golemel, that would do it, okay. Now they have the ability to fuse. Well, even if they can fuse into a 3rd Arthelion, they wouldn't have anything in hand, right? So actually, they wouldn't be able to fuse into Arthelion, but they could still go into, like, Secretarian or something like that. I thought that would do a lot against us. Okay, we don't have to worry about Droll and Lockbird anymore. We have both Bonfire, well, actually, we have Bonfire, Onomatopoeia, and 7th Tachyon that we can take advantage of that. Sending Valen, the Super Sai Sky Blaster. Even though we aren't playing a rank 5 engine, we can still send it and pop a face down card as we start our combo line. Very handy here against the Draco Tail Horn. They're going to end up chaining Horn anyway, so that way they can use Golemel to pop our monster while still getting a draw. Of course, we can search the Sword Ryzeal, and then we're going to use the Onomato Kage to return the Rafflesia and the Laplation to our extra deck, giving us more rank 4s to work with here. Sword can grab Ice, we can next normal summon the Ice Ryzeal going for Node. And it looks like we're going to make the Rafflesia again. Now we can go Onomatopoeia, sending away our 7th Tachyon. Unfortunately, one of those 2 cards was Ash Blossom. I wondered, since they hadn't really used those cards to like advance their board state, if those were going to be hand traps. But the Rafflesia offers some built-in hand trap protection, thanks to its ability to, again, send to the Gravedigger's Trap Hole. And it looks like our opponent's not going to be able to withstand another barrage of rank 4s the Onomatopoeia is going to provide. As well as we saw Node Ryzeal and its effect as well. That was really good, yeah. Definitely showcasing that, like, yeah, we don't have the cross to set up clean negates on turn 1 anymore, but that doesn't take away from all the other strengths that Ryzeal had, which were definitely numerous. And we didn't even summon, like, Detonator or anything here. This was pretty much just rank 4 spam, which is definitely more than enough to get those dubs. Good stuff. All right, let's go check out our next duel. Okay, this next game comes to us from Papa Crow, who's playing a pretty interesting looking deck here. We're going to be taking a look at Super Quant, Punk, Fiendsmith, with a little bit of a Kashtira package in here as well. Really, really cool pile deck here. Yeah, Super Quantal got some relatively recent support with the Fairy Zetan. I believe this is the new one here. And obviously, I'm a huge fan of the Punk engine, so I'm super down to watch any amount of Punk gameplay. Also, you know how much I love pile decks. Couldn't resist this one. And we are going to be going second up against K9 Vanquished Soul. So, as good a deck as any to see just what this strategy is capable of. Yeah, Super Quantal, I'm not very familiar with outside of Red Layer, but even then, I've only really used Red Layer as like an engine piece outside of or an extender really, outside of a Super Quantal deck. So, yeah, we're going second, but thankfully it doesn't look like they have any plays here. Of course, that means there's going to be a ton of hand traps we'll have to play into. I would be willing to bet there's an Izuna in there. Alright, we're going to lead with normal summon Xayamine, and here is the first hand trap. It's going to be Rescue Ace Impulse, and they've got a Fualos as well. So we're going to have to combo through these hand traps here. We're chaining the E-Telly to the Fualos, getting the summon out of the deck before they get a draw for it. That's going to be for the Shark Husai. Now, Fualos has resolved. Impulse is going to summon the Fire Attacker, and then Fire Attacker, of course, will let them draw 2 and then discard 1. They're discarding Shifter, because Impulse has already been discarded. And now we're going to fuse the Shark Husai and Xayamine into the Rising Carp, choosing to push through the Fualos and go full combo anyway. They've got an Ash Blossom for our Rising Carp, which is definitely one of the more impactful disruptions you can have against the Punk engine. Thankfully, we still have the Rising Scale that the Xayamine added. We're going to banish Shark Husai in order to summon, and now we can use Rising Scale to summon a Deer Note from deck. Now we're going to link off the Deer Note with the Rising Scale, and that'll let us go into the Moon of the Closed Heaven. Now, of course, Moon will let us pivot to the Fiendsmith engine, while Deer Note also lets us revive the Rising Carp, which we can stack the Jam Fever on top of. And now we don't have to really worry about a potential Nibiru or other hand trap drawn by our opponent, because of course the Jam Fever comes with a monster negate. Alright, now we can go Requiem for the Lacrima. Lacrima's effect is going to send the Engraver. We're going to Engraver, putting back the Moon in order to special summon. They're going to fire off a Magnum Hut here, but we have the Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion in our hand, which is a very nice counter to the Magnum Hut without having to use the Jam Fever. Looks like they're going to chain with Holly Sue, revealing Xiaolong. And now we know they have a Fire and a Dark, so we're going to end up using the Jam Fever in order to negate that. They're going to respond with Lupus, and it looks like they haven't actually drawn Izuna, just the Lupus, which is pretty unlucky for them, but they don't have another level 5 right now anyway, so there's not a lot that can be done as far as like using the Lupus to stop us. Also, to be fair, I did mention Nibiru, but now that we know for sure, I mean we did already pretty much with the Fire Attacker, but now that we know for sure our opponent's going to be on K9 Vanquish Soul, we know they won't have Nibiru because that deck never plays it. Ghost Ogre proving to be an excellent counter to Lupus here. We can use it in response to the Lupus effect, and that'll destroy it, meaning they can't Xyz summon. They're going to bounce with the Borger and get a draw by revealing the Magnum Hut, but that's pretty much a desperation move, as I can't really think of anything else they could do here. Now that the Borger is removed, even if they top deck Caesar Valius, they won't be able to summon it. Again, it's K9 Vanquish Soul, so they're not going to be on Nibiru. So we should just be in the clear now. Going for the Duke of Demise. You know you're cooking when you're summoning the Duke of Demise off of Fiendsmith sequence. Now we can summon Mind Procedure, which is part of the Banish Psychic support. And we're going to link into Moon again, as a means of getting the Duke of Demise in the graveyard. Now we can add back Engraver, using Engraver's in-hand effect in order to add Tract. Now Tract can add another Engraver because we already have Lurie in hand. We'll discard the Lurie. Lurie gets to activate. And of course we can use Tract to fuse, even though we've already used Sequence. So we're going to fuse Engraver in hand with the Moon on field. That's going to summon out Fiendsmith's Lacrima. Lacrima gets to activate here, reviving the Engraver. And there's Izuna, finally. Looks like our opponent finally top-decked it. Okay, we're going to make a Caesar here. So now even, again, if they did have the Nibiru, we'd still be good. Then we're going to E-Tele for the Super Quantum Blue layer. And that'll let us pivot into our Super Quant plays. Now we can go for the Fairy Zatan, which we're going to tribute in order to mill the spell, and then summon the Fairy Alphan. Now we can adjust some levels and overlay into the Mech Beast Grampulse. Alphan effect can summon a Super Quant from deck. Gonna be one of our high level ones, it being the Super Quantum Black layer. Now Red layer's Graveyard effect can revive the White layer, and then White layer can add Alphan from deck or graveyard to hand. And looks like that is more than enough damage on board to finish our opponent off. And sure enough, they're just going to concede. Wow! Demonstrating the full combo line through the Fulo Straws, through the Izuna, the Lupus, the Fire Attacker, the myriad of hand traps. We pushed through it all. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for showing that off, Papa Crow. We have time for one more gameplay replay, I mean. So let's go ahead and finish off with that. Okay, our final duel comes to us from K22, aka Kyoshiro2000, over on the Discord server. And we're going to be looking at a going second game against Mitsurugi, and we're also going to be on Mitsurugi, well, mostly White Forest, with Fiendsmith and Mitsurugi as well. Rocking a 57 card pile deck here. Again, you know how much I love those, so we had to check this one out. A lot of board breakers here, including the Book of Eclipse. Very good stuff. Alright, and then our opponent is going to be on, looks like more of a pure Mitsurugi deck. Wow, with 3 Lamias as well as the Aramasa, they are definitely going to be on a very consistent engine. It's also funny seeing the now semi-limited Habakiri at 3 copies here, but that obviously isn't going to make too much of a difference, with especially given they already have 3 Lamia and Aramasa. Alright, let's see what we've got here as we're going into this duel. I already forgot if we're going second or... we're going second, right? Yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, we got the Perulia, we got a red reboot. That looks pretty good for us here. They're going to lead with Lambia. We're going to fire off the Perulia here. And that's going to let them add the Habakiri, which will get their play started. Okay, here's the Habakiri. Probably going to send, yep, Saji. Now Saji effect gets to activate. We're going to add the Mitsurugi ritual. They're activating the ritual, and they are going to summon from hand, sending the Kusanagi from hand as well as a Night Sword Serpent from deck. They'll go for the Habakiri. We get to draw off the Perulia, finding Book of Eclipse. That's going to be pretty good going into our turn. Now they can both summon the Night Sword Serpent as well as use Kusanagi to wheel the ritual back into hand. Alright, they're activating Ritual again. This time they're going to send a Murakumo from hand. I imagine to summon a Murakumo from deck. Or is it going to be... No, yeah, it's going to be the Futsu no Mitama. And then they're going to use the Murakumo to add Mirror. Yep, and then Mirror is going to send Mitama to summon Murakumo from the graveyard. That makes sense. Or Hobbit. Well, no, you wouldn't want to send Habakiri, right? Wouldn't you have wanted to send the Futsu no Mitama to get a search? Because hasn't Habakiri... Oh, no, it hasn't used its effect. Okay, never mind. For some reason, I thought it already used the search and summon effect. Okay, now we're overlaying Night Sword Serpent plus Lamia into Dugaris. Or they are, rather. They're going to go for Prayers, Tribute the Futsu no Mitama, to add Aramasa, and then special it. We get another draw off that. They can summon Search, and put back Mirror. Aramasa is going to add a Wosu. And then the Futsu no Mitama is going to add the Great Purification. So I wonder if they already have a second Prayers in hand. They get to draw 2, discard 1 off Dugaris here. They're going to discard an extra Habakiri for linking the Aramasa plus Dugaris into IP Masquerena. They're also going to overlay Habakiri plus Murakumo. This is going to be like number 90 or something. Oh, it's Dragalong. Or Dragal... Hang on. I actually looked up how to pronounce this. It's Dragalucian. The X is a she sound. For some reason, I always thought it was silent. That's why I always pronounced it the way I did. Okay, they're going to go to Hope Harbinger, I see. And then set 3 and pass. Alright, so we have multiple Book of Eclipse here, so we can thankfully circumvent the Hope Harbinger. They're going to use Great Purification on the second, which we love to see, especially because we have the red reboot. Now we don't have to worry about this or any of the other face-down cards that are trap cards. One of those is probably still Prayers, though. So I would imagine at the very least one of those remaining 2 face-downs is going to be relevant here. Now, although we turned the Hope Harbinger face down, the Futsu no Mitama was able to dodge it here, so it can revive and the IP will still be live in that regard. We're going to chain Prayers, letting us add the Habakiri here, and they're going to add a Magatama, as well as, again, reviving the Futsu no Mitama. Okay, now we're going to go for Habakiri for the Saji. They can revive here. They're going to start with reviving the Kusanagi. Now, the face down... Oh yeah, the Dragalucian sent those to the graveyard, that's right. Okay, Ritual sending away the Habakiri. And that'll let us summon a Futsu no... Or sorry, a Murakumo. Sometimes when I get really deep into Mitsurugis, I just get the names a little mixed up. Especially when we're in a mirror match here. Okay, they're going to use their Futsu no Mitama to revive their Murakumo. We're going to chain with the discard to negate effect. They're chaining IP as well. So IP is going to resolve, linking away with the Kusanagi. And that's going to make the Gorgon of Xylophonia. Wow. I was expecting SP Little Knight. But they can negate with the Gorgon. Ah, wow. That's good. That's really good. So now they can revive their Murakumo. Both effects are getting negated. and then we lose our Murakumo. But we still have our White Forest engine, so we're going to go Deception and then summon Diabell Star. We can revive Saji, but the Futsuno Mitama isn't going to be reviving anything else that's super scary, right? As far as, like, none of the things that will revive will have anything relevant for our turn. Okay, we're gonna go for the Dark Magician of Destruction off the Diabell Star. They're reviving Kusanagi again as whatever. So there's the Gaze of Timaeus. We're gonna use the Deception to tribute. They're chaining Murakumo effect. And we're going to discard Gaze so that the Deception resolves. That way we get the Hallowed Azamina. Now we can go Hallowed Azamina to summon the Murashilago, sending away the Set Silvera. Murashilago will drop the stats of all of our opponent's monsters. And I think I can already see how we're going to be able to win this duel. Potentially, anyway. Because the Gorgon can't be destroyed while it doesn't point to anything, but that does just make it a pretty vulnerable point for the opponent to have some damage dealt to them. Of course, yeah, anything we summon in any of these zones will end up powering up the Gorgon and being negated as well. Oh, but here we go. We have the Silvera with the double piercing. And now we're removing the Gorgon anyway. Yeah, that double piercing can be kind of easy to forget sometimes, but you really can't forget about it, especially in board states like this. Now we can use Witch for LZ, LZ send Witch, add Sylvie, normal Sylvie, go for Tails, and then now we can pivot into White Forest plays. So there's the Ryzeal. Ryzeal F can send the Tails in order to add the LZ Azamina. Now we can use Tails effect to set itself. LZ Azamina to summon, and then we're gonna go battle phase. Yeah, they should not have used the Saji effect there. Oh, that made it so much easier to OTK them. Wow. Yeah, again, that double piercing is so clutch. You can't forget about it when your opponent's got a bunch of defense mode monsters. Makes it still really easy for White Forest to OTK, even in a game state like that. Alright, that is going to do it for this week. Thank you again to everybody who submitted. Super appreciate all of you, and even if you didn't get featured, there is always the next week as well. But that's going to do it for now. Let's move on to our outro, so we can also thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.